Hello and welcome to the third episode of Bible FC 25, an RTG edition. Unfortunately, Rutter didn't get an inform for his goal and an assist against Spurs, but I noticed that he did have an evolution card which I was able to apply towards upgrading his stats over the coming week as a consolation. Also a bit of housekeeping, so I had coins in the bank. I thought let's sell some old defenders and James Milner towards essentially upgrading some players with the coins we have in the bank. So we, out of the old, in with the new, we got Heber for the Book of Hebrews, we got Jonathan Tarr for the books that John wrote, we got James Justin for the Book of James, we got Peter Galaski for the books that Peter wrote, and we got Lucas Klosterman for the Book of Luke or Acts, which Luke wrote. So we've gone from this into this upgraded team. And also at left mid, you'll notice we've had to swap our right back, Jude Boyd, and then at left mid, we've got a new Jude called Jude, is it Soodstrup Bell? He's got 4-star skills, which is something to write home about. And then, yeah, there's our Evolution Ritter. So fairly solid, fairly happy with the upgrade to the team. Come up against this in our first match, which also looks fairly solid on paper, but you'd like to think we have enough to beat them. And in the first sort of half an hour or so into the game, we round the keeper with, I think it was Mateus Cunha, slots it home into the back of the net for a 1-0 lead. But then into the second half, he goes through and he smashes it through the keeper's legs into the back of the net. But I think Marlin, maybe not, but whoever it was, it's tied up at 1-1. He then smashes it past Galaski to make it 2-1. So at this stage, it's not going ideally, and then he puts the player in to make it 3-1, and I'm saved by the post. And then we go up the other end, we play it from Jude Bell into, I think that's Cunha again, and he smashes it past the keeper into the back of the net to tie it up at 2-2. But up the other end again, I get in the block with a cross of Klosterman, but then an absolute stinker. I give it away, and then he crosses it to the back stick to an Angel Di Maria to make it 3-2. So that's fairly disappointing from Klosterman. But from kickoff, I respond immediately with a couple of passes. I end up playing it wide to Jude Bell, who wins a penalty. And as I said before, next time I promise I'll put the keeper on it. I put Galaski on it, and he buries it deliciously and very softly into the far corner to equalise at 3-3. And then right at the death, he has a chance to win it, and my keeper makes a world-class save, and then he puts the follow-up wide. So the game finishes at a 3-3 draw, a fairly decent start to the episode. As you can see, no changes to the division progression. We hop into another game against another fairly standard goldish team. You'd fancy our chances yet again, and basically he gets a corner early doors into the match, and I clear it upfield to David Neres, who essentially has loads of space and currently one defender to beat, and he sort of keeps running, he keeps running. I then do a random rainbow flick around no one before absolutely rinsing alive 2 of his defenders and smashing the ball into the bins for an early 1-0 lead, which, yeah, fairly pleased with the goal, to be fair, once I'd finally produced some skill that was effective. And then he plays a 1-2 with his attacker, some fairly shambolic defending from myself, and he wriggles through on goal to tie it up at 1-1. Then there was a connection lost from his end. The game finished at 1-1 for the sake of Neres' goal. We'll put it down on the stats as a 1-1 draw and record Neres' goal on the stat sheet. We then come up against another fairly standard gold team, which you'd like to think we could beat, but he rattles the crossbar early doors, providing an early threat. We then up the other end get what should have been a Stonewall penalty on Rashford, nothing given, not sure what that's all about. I then do a bunch of skill around absolutely no one to create some space onto the right foot for Rutter to force a save, and then from the rebound I pick it up of Cunha and I fire it into the bins across goal to make the game 1-0. And then with Jorginho Rutter, a bit more skill, partially around no one, but also around some people, and I fire it into the back of the net for a 2-0 lead. So I'm 2-0 up, I'm cruising fairly well, but then he plays a free ball into this chap who sort of rounds my keeper and then Klosterman for the second time in the episode as a stinker. But we managed to hold off a few scary moments to see out the game at 2-1. Most importantly, we have plenty of options for the Bible passage as we progress closer to Division 9, and we will head into the Bible passage part of the video now.
Okay, so into the Bible passage, and we're going to go with a goal that we scored of Mateus Cunha in the 62nd minute, and therefore turn to the book of Matthew. There isn't a chapter 62, so we're going to look at verse 6 in relation to the number, as we usually do in this situation. And we're going to go from verse 19. There's a few things in this passage. We're going to look at a couple of them in particular. In verse 19 says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and thieves don't destroy, and they don't steal. For there your treasure is, there your heart is also. And initially, so this is Jesus teaching, this is Jesus saying these words, and he's saying, look, essentially, things on earth that we often run after, we often collect, we often save up money for to sort of make our garden or our house look better, or whatever it might be, all of these sort of treasures that we look to for happiness, don't focus all your attention on them, because one day, you know, they're going to turn to dust. They're not going to be any more. These things can get stolen. They can get destroyed. Moths and vermin and things can, you know, gradually deteriorate them over time. Don't put all your heart into them. You know, I don't think Jesus is saying you can't collect things and, you know, make your garden look pretty and things, but don't put your heart into them. Where if these things were to, you know, be stolen or nicked, if that happened and that was, you know, going to make your world completely fall apart, then there might be an issue there, because you're probably making some of these things an idol. Hold on to these things loosely, and focus on Jesus most importantly. Towards the end of this chapter, he says, seek God's kingdom first, and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added to you. Where he's talking about, like, don't worry about your life, don't worry about what you'll eat, what you'll wear, all of these possessions and all of these things in life, you know, particularly in relation to things that you actually need. Don't worry about them. He says, trust me. He said, if you look to me, if you you know, look to me first above everything else, I'll provide the things you need in life. I'll provide the things you need. Most importantly, if you look to Jesus, he'll provide for you spiritually, which is, you know, what we need the most. All of us have this sort of God-shaped hole in our heart, whereas, you know, if God has truly created the world and created us to know him, we all have this sort of God-shaped hole in our lives and our hearts, where the only one that can bring us truly happiness and contentment and peace in life is God, is the one who created us to have a relationship with him, which he made possible by dying on the cross to reconnect us with God. And he's saying, you know, if you look to me first and you find fulfillment and contentment in me above everything else, one, we're going to be happier because he's the only one that can fully satisfy our souls. And two, he'll provide all of these physical things that we need in life. And I guess my encouragement to you would be, yeah, hold these physical things loosely. If you know Jesus, you know, keep looking to him. If you don't know Jesus, I want to encourage you, you know, all of these things of the world, they'll ultimately not satisfy you. Like, these things, you know, there's good things about some of these things. Like, I have hobbies and I have things I do and I have interests, but I'm very aware that they'll always sort of leave me disappointed if I put too much attention and hope into them. So, you know, I want to encourage you, there's a God out there that loves you, that wants you to know him, that wants you to know his tangible love for you, as proven on the cross. So I want to encourage you to look to him if you don't know him already. And he's a God that wants to provide for you, wants to provide for what you need. And if you're someone that struggles with anxiety and worry about, you know, the next day and you know, the future and careers and life in general, whatever it might be, the final verse in this chapter is wonderful. It says, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough to think about in itself. And essentially, an encouragement is live a day at a time, right? Look to Jesus, look to God, ask him to help you in day-to-day life, but focus on a day at a time. If you're looking too far ahead, your mind's going to blow up with worry and stress. If you put your faith in God and you know he's got a perfect plan for your life, he's with you, he's helping you in day-to-day life, you can focus on the day, ask God to give you the strength and energy and help that you need for that day. He'll provide for you that day and the next day and the next day until you've fulfilled your purpose in life and he takes you home to be with him if you put your faith in Jesus. That's the encouragement I want to leave you with today. You don't need to worry, because if you put your faith in God, he's got it. He's got you and he's with you and he cares about you and he loves you very dearly. Yeah, if you're liking these videos, if you're finding this content helpful, please like and subscribe, comment, and if you want to have a dialogue with me or want to share some encouragement, whatever, it's always really appreciated. And if you want to watch the next video, then obviously subscribing will help you to know when the next one uploads. But yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever you're doing, and I look forward to catching you all on the next one.